to another episode of Hitting the Field. I'm your host, Eric Scott, and alongside here is Troy Kless and Ben Sanders. Guys, this is the beginning of the MLS Cup campaign for many teams this week. And what are some of the contenders and pretenders you're looking at coming into the 2016 season?
Well, I think we already have to look at last year's champions, the Portland Timbers. I mean, they still kept, a good majority of their squad. And, with guys like Diego Valeri and Darlington Nagbe, who are they were solid in the midfield last year. And, we saw how organized they were under Caleb Porter. And if they keep going in that direction, then they're going to be right back in it in the MLS Cup final in, this season. I think they're going to be a really strong team. Also bringing in some reinforcements like Jack McInerney. That's going to help them a lot going forward, I think.
Talking about teams that stay together, look at the Columbus Crew as well. I know they made it to the final. It's easy to say, yeah, they made it to the final. They're of course they're going to be a favourite, but they kept the same attacking three of Kai Kamara and Justin Merrim and Federico Higuain up front, who just keep scoring goals. Ethan Finley has some of the best service on the right-hand side, and then Kai Kamara scores around half his goals off of headers. I think last season it was at least 9 or 10 out of his 22 were headers. So Ethan Finley really gives that team a dynamic to help them go forwards.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about Columbus Crew is looking at Ethan Finley, someone that we pinpointed when we were talking about that Eastern Conference playoffs. And I think Ethan Finley, if he can stay consistent, get more touches, more caps with the national team, I think he can be an outstanding player for the MLS. But guys, let's stay within the local realm in Orlando City specifically. What are some of the expectations you guys have for them coming into this season?
Well, I think this might be the year that, they have to make the playoffs. I mean, we saw last year they were just outside, just underneath that line, almost making a push into, into the next round. But, we assembled a pretty good team now. You have guys like Antonio Nocerino, which the biggest signing of the MLS offseason, in my opinion. And I think, with that organization in the midfield and Kyle Larin up top, the monster goal scorer, rookie of the year last year, they need to be right back in there. They need to be pushing for a playoff spot if they want to, keep that consistency throughout the year.
It's playoffs or bust. It has to be. Look at the spine of the team. Look at Seb Hines and Aurelian Collin back there. A very, very good centre-back partnership. Then you've got lots and lots of really, really good holding midfielders. You've got Nocerino, but you've got Higuita and Seren. Seren's the workhorse on that team. If Seren has a bad game, the rest of the team have a bad game. And then you can play, you've got Kaká and Kyle Larin, which everyone knows about. Nocerino can play anywhere across the midfield. That spine is so, so strong. And if they can give good protection to Joe Bendik so he doesn't have to do a whole lot of saves, out of the ordinary, Orlando City should be at least top 3 in the conference, at least.
And that was some of the problems that, we saw a little bit last year is, the defense and sometimes the midfield getting a little bit flustered and dropping some points. But as long as, they stay composed, Kaká, leader of the team, telling everyone calm down, they're going to be fine. I think, honestly, they have to push for a top spot in the conference.
Yeah, we go across the country to Seattle Sounders, out with Obafemi Martins and in with Jordan Morris. Guys, what are some of your expectations for Clint Dempsey and Jordan Morris up top this year for Seattle?
I think, we're all excited about Jordan Morris. As a U.S. men's national team fan, you want him to perform well. But at the same time, we also have to remember he's fresh out of college. So, he's going to have those sort of games where, he's not going to be, he's going to face some tough competition. He's got defenders, in the LA Galaxy and, Vancouver to deal with. But I think, last year he was on fire for Stanford. So he's going to bring that, directly into the Sounders. And having the leadership of Clint Dempsey with him, that's going to help him even more because, he was with players like Obafemi Martins. He knows what it's going to take for this team to push back into the conference finals.
He better be ready to score, though. Obafemi Martins, he scores 15 goals last year. Got all those assists, that great chemistry with Clint Dempsey. He better come out firing because I don't know who else is going to score on that team. You can't put all the weight on Clint Dempsey and you can't put all the weight on Jordan Morris either. They've got to work together to get that 25 goals and those 15 assists.
So expectations, are we expecting the Seattle Sounders to be as good as they have been in recent years?
I think so, honestly. While Obafemi Martins, it's a big loss, they still have the ground to make that up, and they can push again for another playoff spot, I think. It's going to be tough in the Western Conference. It's very tricky. I mean, FC Dallas came out of nowhere and came out on top last year. So, you're going to see teams like FC Dallas who, they're going to be wild cards, not going to know what to expect from them. But, Seattle, there's always an expectation where they have to make the playoffs.
Ben, who's your surprise team for 2016?
I mean, it's not really a surprise, but Sporting Kansas City, the way they played with Benny Feilhaber, Dom Dwyer always gets 12 goals. Yeah, Christian Nemeth is gone. They've just got Brad Evans in. So I think Kansas are going to surprise a lot of people this year, banging a lot of goals, play with that intensity.
I don't know. I think I like New York Red Bulls, honestly. We saw Bradley Wright Phillips was an absolute monster, and they lost Matt Miazga, which he's well off at Chelsea. But you know what? I think that New York Red Bulls Supporter Shield winners last year, they're going to be solid.
Regardless, every team in the MLS is going to think they have a chance to win the MLS Cup here in 2016. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, Daniel and Michael will join me. And we're going to talk about the NFL Combine and some of the surprises. Stay with us.
DC Comics brand new superhero collection. Oh no! Central City is under attack from Captain Cold. Luckily, the Flash is here to stop him. Captain Cold is no match for the Flash. The Green Arrow needs the Flash's help. The evil Deathstroke is trying to take over the city. The Green Arrow and Black Canary are here to stop him. Deathstroke is too strong to beat alone. With teamwork, they can defeat Deathstroke once and for all. Our heroes have saved the city. DC Comics Superhero Collection. Each figure sold separately.
Tonight on Deals After Dark. When I think of quality sunglasses, I think of boldness, but simplicity. And nothing provides both of those more than this set. Tonight, we have a pair of beautiful used matte black Oakley Holbrook sunglasses. These glasses offer an American frame accented with metal rivets and Oakley icons, perfect for buyers seeking performance and style. And do we have a deal for you guys tonight? For the next 40 seconds, that's right, 40 seconds, you have a chance to get your hands on this exclusive featured price of $110 or best offer. This deal, usually only available on Craigslist, could be yours for the 8 super easy payments of $13.75. Wow, I'm now hearing that we've actually gone down to one single pair. So if you're interested in this deal or any other products from our program, you can always log on to dealsafterdark.com or call us at 1-800-555-DEAL.
Welcome back to Hitting the Field. Alongside with me is Michael Kennedy and Daniel Burden. We're talking NFL Combine. We never stop talking NFL on Hitting the Field. And guys, the biggest conversation when we look at this past weekend is the NFL Combine and the impact that can have for some of the players' drafts stock as we go into the 2016 draft. Michael, I'm going to start with you. Keith Marshall, 4.31, looked impressive for a running back. How much is that going to help him in his stock?
Hey, Keith Marshall, he has had a lot of injuries at Georgia, but the way he's been performing, he seems like he can go probably in round 3. But let's not forget Willis McGahee, Frank Gore. They tore their knees in college. Nobody wanted to take a chance on them. Look at him, Frank Gore, successful. Willis McGahee, successful. Hey, I think that this guy right here, he can be successful too.
Yeah, that's my only issue, though. You bring up McGahee and you bring up Gore, who both torn their knees like Marshall has. But that's just it about running backs. Running backs these days are so disposable that are you really going to waste a high draft pick on Marshall just because he ran a 4.3? Look at Chris Johnson, a 4.23 40-yard dash, the record for running backs in the Combine. And now look at him, third string with the Cardinals, really, and still suffering with injuries. So I don't believe Marshall is worth a first or second round pick, not even a third round pick. This man has only just over 1,000 yards rushing in his Georgia career. That's a good season for most college running backs in 1 year, right? In this day and age. So I believe that in the 5th or 6th round, Marshall will still be there. I can go and shore up some more positions on my team, offensive line, defensive line, secondary, before I look at drafting.
But guys,
Keith Marshall.
we have to go only to a year ago and look at the Georgia Bulldogs and Todd Gurley and the risk that people took. The St. Louis Rams specifically, he's coming off a knee injury. Are they not looking at that Georgia Bulldogs team and saying these guys produce good running backs? We don't have to go too back to Knowshon Moreno, another running back from Georgia who has impressed in the NFL for some time.
Yeah, but where's Knowshon now, though?
Right.
Out of the league. Gurley is by far the best running back to come out of Georgia in a few decades at least. But I think he's one, not in a million, but he's a rare case. I think right now you look at Sony Michel is right there with the Bulldogs right now. He won't get drafted early. Keith Marshall right now, we're talking about injuries. I think he's more. I think the injuries kind of push some teams away from him. Todd Gurley is the exception to it. I don't think and Georgia has great running backs. They always do. Nick Chubb right now, he's injured as well now. I just feel like they have a lot of great running backs, but none of them are really going to make that big of an impact as Gurley did.
And the biggest question as we look at the NFL Combine is the relevancy it has for some of these big players getting ready for the draft. Michael, do you think the NFL Combine should be something that we implement moving forward, or should we get rid of it?
They should get rid of it, honestly, because when Jadeveon Clowney was there, we all saw what this guy can do. He ran a 4.4. He's very athletic, he's big, and he can't produce on the field. And we keep seeing these players, it's like, okay, they're big, they're fast, but it's like you can't produce on the field. It's like, okay, I mean, why do we need this? I would rather.
I think you need it though, because to give the little guys a chance. Yeah, sure, we see Joey Bosa. He's gonna have his own pro day. Same thing with Cardell Jones. Didn't have the best combine, but he'll have his own pro day. The big guys, they get their own time. So for them, is the combine that important? No. But the D2 guys, the D3 players, this is their chance. No scout is gonna come out and watch their pro day out in Lincoln, Nebraska. It's not gonna happen. So this is their time. Also, it makes the NFL a lot of money. You see on NFL Network 3 straight days, 4 straight days. It's just nonstop coverage. There's no way you can do away with it. It's too much of a money grab for the NFL. And like I said, it brings the little guys in and gives them a chance to showcase what they have. And a lot of them do step up and make an impact at the NFL level.
I think the biggest thing you look at the NFL Combine is they're able to compare these guys to top DNs, top linebackers that are all there at the same time. They're running 40s, and I get your point about the 40-yard dash not being a significant resemblance of what you're going to see in the NFL, but it gives these guys an opportunity to see guys out of game and out of tape. So is there something else that you want to see in the NFL Combine, Michael, or do you just think that they should go away with it in general?
I mean, honestly, I think that they should just go away with it in general. You can see what these guys can do in college. I mean, yes, I mean, you want to go out there, you want to see what these guys can do. But honestly, I think that they should get rid of it. I mean, I just stated my point earlier. There's not much else that I could say and get on top of that.
And Joey Bosa, let's move this conversation to Joey Bosa and his draft stock as we look at the 2016 draft. Guys, is he the lock for the number 1 pick in the draft?
You know, at this point, I'm going to say yes, just because through the regular season, through the college football playoffs, not the college football, through the bowl season, he looked like the number 1 pick. I don't think anyone has usurped him to take over that number 1 spot. And I think the teams at the top of the order, the defensive line, DN in particular, it's what they need. And again, with the cap on what you can pay rookies and first number 1 overall picks, you don't have to go out and spend $80 million like you did for like the Bradfords or the Staffords back in the day. And I think he can really contribute to one of those poor teams in the league.
Yes, Joey Bosa will. You draft the best player, 26 sacks, 148 tackles, draft him.
Well, the NFL draft will be something we're looking at coming into the 2016 season. When we get back, we're going to talk MMA and Carl will join us here at the desk for the first time on Hitting the Field. Stay with us.
Experience, the sea, art, lifestyle, travel. This is Seek to See More.
Welcome back to Hitting the Field. Carl Millionaire joins us near at the desk with Daniel Bird, and we're talking MMA, and UFC 196 is set for this weekend, and Nate Diaz takes on Conor McGregor. Carl, what's the biggest storyline you're looking coming to this Saturday?
The biggest storyline is the notorious Conor McGregor, who's going to take on Nate Diaz, two big trash-talking MMA fighters who don't hold anything back, as you can see in the press conference with those two. I think that was the most F-bombs I've ever heard in a press conference in UFC history by far. But it's the most talked about fight because Conor McGregor is the biggest star right now in UFC, arguably the pound for pound greatest fighter right now in UFC right now. And he holds the featherweight title. He was supposed to fight Dos Anjos for the lightweight title, but unfortunately he broke his foot in training, and now that won't happen. So now we get a step-up fight from Nate Diaz.
Yeah, but my issue with I have an issue with the entire UFC 196 card, but Conor McGregor is the star of the UFC promotion today, and you're gonna have him fight Nate Diaz in a welterweight fight, 2 weight classes above where McGregor is a champion. I understand if you're gonna have him move up to lightweight and fight Dos Anjos, that's a mega fight. Everyone wants to see that fight. What's the point for Nate Diaz here in this fight? He's got nothing. He's got everything to gain in this fight and nothing to lose. If he loses, everyone's like, oh, that's fine. But if he beats Conor McGregor, the UFC loses their biggest star, and who's supposed to be untouchable. He calls all his shots, and there's no chance that they ever get someone as big back in recent times.
I don't necessarily agree. Conor in his walking weight is 170. He walks around with 170, so he might not feel as comfortable in the weight, but still he's such a great technician with his strikes and everything like that.
But say he wins and beats Diaz. Okay, now what's next? You want to fight Lawler for the 170 title? Are you trying to get him to hold 3 belts
Well, let's talk
at one
about
time?
that. What's it going to take for Nate Diaz to beat Conor McGregor in the 196?
For him to take on McGregor, he has a great chin. He can take hits. A lot of people who haven't been successful against McGregor don't have great chins. They'll fall down. So Nate can take a lot of hits. So if he wants to endure the three rounds of 5 minutes from straight action from McGregor, that's his best way to take him out. Tire him out, make him throw his strikes. He's eventually going to get gassed out. Maybe if you could take him to the ground, take him to the ground. And then you do that. But I still think at the end of the day, McGregor wins in the second round by TKO.
Daniel, who wins?
I think McGregor wins it by decision. I don't think you can take out Nate Diaz. I think he's too tough of a fighter. But I think in the end, it really doesn't do much for either fighter in the end.
And then let's transition to Holly Holm versus Miesha Tate. Guys, what are some of the storylines you're looking into this fight?
Holly Holm, undefeated in the bantamweight division, arguably the best striker in women's UFC history by far, took out Ronda Rousey basically without any effort. Everyone was on the Ronda Rousey train, the big bandwagon, and all of a sudden that train hit a train wreck when she met Holly Holm. And I think the same prediction, Holly Holm, second round TKO victory.
I think Holm wins this one by decision as well. I think Miesha Tate doesn't have enough to beat the undefeated champ, but I don't think this fight should be going on as well. I think that you have Holly Holm, Ronda Rousey, a rematch. It's the biggest fight in women's MMA. And now you're putting that in jeopardy because Miesha Tate is no scrub. She can go out there and beat Holly Holm. I don't think it's going to happen, but she can. And now what happens if Tate wins? Now you have to have Tate versus Rousey for the title. Rousey's already beat Miesha Tate twice, and convincingly too.
If Tate were to win, I think she should get a rematch with Holly Holm. And I agree with you, this next fight should have been Holly Holm and Rousey. But Rousey, with the injury, how long was she going to have to wait for Rousey to get back? And you have Miesha Tate, who's been on a 3-fight winning streak, so she earned her shot.
But we see fighters sit out for an entire year at times, especially in the heavyweight division. They fight once a year if we're lucky. I saw nothing wrong with Holly Holm sitting out a few more months, letting Rousey get healthy, come back, and that's the fight everyone wants to see. Miesha Tate should have fought Kat Zingano, the woman who beat Tate last. If those two fight, then maybe you can have that as a title eliminator, and then they can fight Holm if Rousey's not back in time. But Rousey-Holm should have been the next fight. And I think this whole 196 card could have been canceled. They've done it in the past.
I don't think that Holly Holm and Rousey would have been that great if you would have rushed it, because Rousey did have a big significant injury to her jaw after the head kick. So if anything, have them wait. If Tate loses this fight, then the next fight will be Rousey.
We will see if Holly Holm and Conor McGregor can get the wins that they need at UFC 196. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, Rachel and Josh are going to join me here on set, and we're going to talk about NBA and Steph Curry and the power rankings in the NBA. Stay with us.
Central Florida is the perfect place to study, earn a degree, and of course, to enjoy everything that Central Florida has to offer.
From theme parks to dinner shows and, of course, the movies, Orlando offers many unique and exciting activities to do. However, we all know that a ticket to any of these attractions can be expensive, especially on a college student budget.
UCF Student Government Association has the nights covered with the SGA Ticket Center.
Located at the heart of campus inside Student Union, SGA Ticket Center offers tickets at a special discounted price to UCF students, faculty, and staff.
Not only do they have discounted tickets for theme parks, but they also have discounted tickets for other attractions like Blue Man Group, Pirates Dinner Adventure, and Kennedy Space Center.
Save your money and experience all Orlando has to offer.
For more information, you can visit their website.
Dangerous driving extends beyond just speeding, especially in the rain where light usage can be the most dangerous thing you do. This high-performance sports car might be able to handle tight corners in the rain, but if the driver can't see drivers around him, it just doesn't matter. Driving with your hazard lights on is illegal in the state of Florida, regardless of weather conditions. Hazard lights are only to be used while stopped on the side of the road. It makes it easier for emergency services to distinguish cars stopped on the shoulder. Not driving with your hazards on also makes turn signals clearly visible, along with brake lights. Increasing the visibility of your car in the rain will make your trips infinitely safer. And of course, remember that speed is the most important thing you can control while driving in severe weather. Speed and low grip are a deadly combination at any level of driver skill. For more information, visit your local Florida Department of Transportation office or the website shown below. Control the roads and enjoy the journey.
We are back on Hitting the Field, and joining me on set now is Rachel White and Joshua Thicklin. We're talking NBA basketball. The conversation starts and ends with Steph Curry after his performance this past weekend against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Josh, what are some of your comments on Oscar Robertson's comments on Steph Curry and some of these older NBA retired players?
I think that it's kind of, I understand Mr. Curry's frustration and why it's so annoying. Constantly every week, we're reminded that the Warriors aren't as good as the 95, 96 Bulls, or we get someone from an older generation talking about, well, back in my day, like Curry wouldn't be able to have these three-pointers because we would play lockdown defense, we rough them up a little bit, stuff like that. The thing is, the game is always changing, it's always evolving, and it's something that's not new, and it's really actually kind of disappointing to seeing even someone with such high esteem, one of the greatest players of all time, Oscar Robertson, to make the comments that he did. They weren't so super out of line, but I just feel like it wasn't a classy move on his behalf, saying that like anybody that shoots a three-pointer or does a slam dunk is the best thing since sliced bread, or saying things like that are really out of pocket and uncalled for.
Rachel?
To me, I think it's just frustrating. Like, I'm not sure why everyone constantly feels the need to make a historical comparison. Like, can we just talk about what's going on right now? And the truth is that nobody else is playing at the same level as Stephen Curry. If it's so easy to do that now because the defense is different, then why isn't somebody else stepping up and dropping 50 points against one of the best teams in the league? So I think, and his performance against the Thunder was pretty phenomenal. The Thunder are a very good team, and that was a very tight game. And obviously, without Steph Curry, the Warriors probably wouldn't be in the position they're in. So I just think it's annoying that we constantly have to be like, well, are they as good as the Bulls team? Or, you know, could he have done this in another era? It doesn't matter. He's doing it right now in this era, and nobody else is.
And Josh, your comments on the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Golden State Warriors game?
I think it really showed why, actually it gave me faith back in the Oklahoma City Thunder. As much as it was great, amazing, Steph Curry had to have one of the greatest performances of his career to barely escape the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think they came out with a different defensive presence than we see majority teams play. They played aggressive. They were forcing Curry off the block, and he still hit a record-tying 12 three-pointers in a game. When his shot at the end pretty much like sent like Twitter and social media ablaze. Everyone congratulating Curry, but I think it's one of those things that like is one of those performances we're gonna look back as one of definitely Curry's shining moments so far in his young career.
And Rachel, let's not forget that Kevin Durant fouled out in that overtime period. Do you think Oklahoma City Thunder can contend in this Western Conference to get to the finals?
I think they might be one of the only teams that can contend with the Golden State Warriors. You saw in that game, the play of Russell Westbrook has been incredible this entire season. He's kind of getting lost in the shuffle with everything that's going on with Steph Curry. And I mean, rightfully so. Curry's having a historic season, but Russell Westbrook is also having an incredible season, and him and Durant finally, working together again after all the issues last season with injuries. And so I definitely think the Thunder's a team that could contend in the West.
Yeah, and we talk about NBA power rankings and some of the teams that can beat the Golden State Warriors. Guys, who's your top five?
All right. Well, my top 5 is, not a doubt, I think it's unanimous. Golden State is number 1. Number 2 is the San Antonio Spurs, who are actually on pace to have the greatest season in franchise history. Right. And they're still heavily overshadowed by the Warriors. Number 3 would definitely have to be Toronto. I think they definitely surpassed Cleveland this week in my power rankings. Before, I would have had Cleveland, but now, after the buzzer beater by Kyle Lowry, 43 points, they definitely take a step ahead of Cleveland, and they're only 4 games back. Number 4, of course, is the Cleveland Cavaliers, though they did take 2 tough losses in the Eastern Conference this week. One, a blowout loss without LeBron. The other, the loss against Toronto, as we mentioned earlier. I still think that they still have potential, but they need to work things out. And number 5 is Oklahoma City Thunder. Even though they lost 4 out of the last 5 games, this game gave me faith that they're still in that top 5.
Rachel, and after Toronto's bad loss against Detroit last night, and even Cleveland losing again, where do you separate Toronto and Cleveland in that Eastern Conference?
I think I still have Toronto ahead of Cleveland just because I feel like they have their things together right now. Cleveland, it's like constantly something's going on with them, whether it's like, Tyronn Lue is worried about players not giving effort, or they're resting LeBron, or it's like there's always some kind of drama going on with Cleveland ever since they fired David Blatt. So I think Toronto's playing better as a unit right now. They did lose last night to Detroit, but not the worst thing that could ever happen. And I feel like Cleveland's just not playing at a consistent level that you want to see for a contender in the East right now.
And Josh, do you think Toronto, if they were to get out of this Eastern Conference and get to the finals, has any chance against this Golden State Warriors team?
I just think they don't match up well enough. Even though the Raptors have, they've given a decent fight to the Warriors, but they don't match up well enough overall. And if we want to see someone come out of the East, of course we would love this. A lot of people would like to see Cleveland come out, but Toronto is still a threat. I don't think they're like Atlanta last year, where they're a great regular season team and they won't do well in the postseason. I think this is actually their year to show up. But it's yet to be seen. We have some goals. It's kind of like we're kind of waiting for a couple of teams to still show up. And this postseason may be the most interesting because it's not the usual people.
I think everyone just wants to see Kyrie Irving play against this Golden State Warrior teams and see both Cleveland and Golden State healthy come to the NBA Finals. That's all the time we have today on Hitting the Field. Thank you for listening and watching. Please join us and follow us on our Twitter and Facebook pages and subscribe to our YouTube. Have a wonderful day.